There you are, nice, slow intro music. Huh?
Morning.
Good morning. Let me turn down the music. Enough of the music. Here we go. It was nice, wasn't it? There you go.
Lovely.
Soothing music for the occasion. There you go. Let's turn it off, shall we? There we go. And how are you, Empress Abeno?
I'm looking forward to today. My adopted mum's coming back today. She came back to the country today. She went on holiday and went to a wedding, so she's coming back today. And I'm going to go see my friend who had a baby today. So it's going to be a busy day today.
Okay. And of course, we simply have to lament the passing of Elizabeth II. I think we just acknowledge that event and the crowning of a new British king later today.
That should be absolutely delightful. I'm very sad for the family, and it's a sad time when anyone passes. And all we can do is send them and pay our respects to them, and wish the new king very well in his new position.
Absolutely right, and absolutely right. So, listeners and viewers, welcome to the Motivator Show alongside Empress Adna. Oh, is she looking well? Huh? Isn't she looking well?
I try in this British weather. I try.
I like that. This British weather, huh?
Yeah.
It's typical English weather, if I may put it so. Although if you're in Scotland, it'd be even worse. But as I said, this is typical English weather. It's grey sky. Well, I believe it rained overnight, but it's fine. It's fine. It's all an attitude of mind. There you are.
You get used to it, You
get used to it.
Yeah.
You cannot complain. So let me go straight into the program.
Yes, let's do that.
Last week's show, wasn't that outstanding? Queen Artisosa, or wasn't she outstanding? Her Majesty was outstanding.
She knows her stuff. She knows her stuff. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And those who are Ghanaian, oh, I want to say she did you proud.
Yes, she did, definitely.
Yeah, an outstanding ambassador for the country. Yeah, indeed, an outstanding ambassador for us all.
Yeah.
And what she imbued is the rich history of Africa, the beauty of our cultures, okay, and the determination of our people. If she's listening, Your Majesty, thank you. That was a most outstanding presentation, and we look forward to you appearing in hopefully the not too distant future. There's so much to say, and it was quite clear that all Ghanaians, all Africans, felt so proud that you are one of our regal persons. Thank you. There you are. Now, what I also wanted to do is also remind people that if you are viewing us via Facebook or YouTube, okay, please don't forget, what you should do. I'm going to play it. I've got some new technology here. I'm going to play what you should do. And that's what you should do.
Subscribe, people, subscribe.
And and always give us a like. Give us a like. Just say you like that particular episode. Yeah, the like, the thumbs up. There you are. Subscribe. There's no charge, and the thumbs up is equally as important. It simply gives us an affirmation that you viewed it and you liked what you've seen. You found the experience informative. Enlightening, empowering. Okay, that's the purpose of these shows. Okay, simply affirmation. So if you're viewing us through YouTube or Facebook, please don't forget. And of course, if you want to view us via Facebook or YouTube, it's clearly the Demotivator Show. Of course, that DE space motivator show, not demotivator, which means going down. It's D. And across most of our linguistic styles, D means the, and demotivator show. Yeah, okay, huh? That's the correct pronunciation. Demotivator show. There you are. Alongside Empress Abner.
I'm too excited in the mornings on a weekend. It's terrible.
Oh no, it's quite good. It's good. It's good to have that energy, that vibe, my Empress. It truly is. It truly is. And I also just want to go on to say that the rich source of information shared last week is one I will not forget for a long time. And it's quite clear that Ghana is a wonderful country to visit, to invest, indeed to live, And so I want to commend Ghana to the listeners as a place you should visit. But of course, today's program will focus on another country on the motherland, Namibia, and we'll get onto that later on. Okay, because that should be truly inspirational also. Truly
Absolutely, definitely.
So what I want to do now, then, if I may, I want to now move into this section of the show, which I know has impact, continue to have impact on the community. Okay, and you all understand why I'll spend these few minutes. We will spend these few minutes just talking about our health. Yeah, it is so important to talk about our health.
100%.
Because not to do so would be to leave ourselves vulnerable to all the maladies that pervade modern lifestyles. Okay, so let me begin. I want to ask the listeners, the viewers, to consider the amount of sugar that we put into our bodies. We eat, we consume. Why? Because sugar, eaten in significant quantities over a long period of time, is impacting our communities in ways which are really quite profound. We have Professor Hilary Beckhorst, Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, noted, particularly in the West Indies or Caribbean, and it's not, and that picture is true both here in Europe and Britain, and of course in the Americas and parts of Africa, that we have epidemic levels of diabetes. Each of us know either someone within our immediate family or our wider families, someone with diabetes. That's how prevalent it is. And he asserted, even in his family, he has a number of members of his family with diabetes. Okay? So I simply ask people to consider, do you need to add sugar to your teas and coffees? Do you need to eat those cakes?
Jamaican ginger cake is the best, I must say, and carrot cake. So there you go.
You see, there you are. It's in our cuisine, this sugar. It pervades our cuisine. You're right, But I simply ask people to consider the amount of sugar you are consuming. And then consider if you were to succumb to diabetes, what it would mean for your lifestyle. Yeah. I simply ask you to consider, because very much type 2 diabetes is fundamentally a lifestyle condition. It's one that is avoidable. We just seem to be very careful the amount of sugar. Indeed, do you need to add the additional sugar to your foods? I no longer add sugar to my teas or coffees, and I very rarely drink those so-called tin drinks. And I'm very careful where I encounter an event with lots of sugary items. I tend to avoid them like the plague. Okay. So I simply ask people to consider the amount of sugar that they're ingesting. And note the speech by Professor Hilary Beckles, where he noted the epidemic levels of diabetes amongst people in the Caribbean. But most certainly here in Britain, the above average numbers of us in our communities, in the African communities, whether from the Caribbean or from the continent, or indeed born here. Yes, there are significantly heightened levels of diabetes amongst our communities, and most certainly is the case in the United States of America. It most certainly is the case there. So I simply ask you to consider, and then consider the implication of your actions. It may not affect you today or tomorrow or next week or next month or next year, but it will affect you if you persistently take unusually large levels of sugar. It is often masked, mind you. That's why you just got to pay close attention to what you're consuming. Similarly, salt. Salt is another one of those insidious killers as well. Okay? I don't buy salt from the grocery store anymore. No need for it. No need for it. Okay, because it's usually embedded in the foods that we consume already. But salt of hardened arteries, heightened blood pressure, or hypertension. Again, another one of those public health conditions that pervades our community. It's incumbent upon us to think carefully about our action, okay, or the impact it has on others, particularly young children who learn from us these nutritional habits. That's where the problem begins, because we teach them to add additional sugar to their diet. We teach them to add additional salt to their diet. And we're not thinking about the long-term consequences of our action. But they will suffer the action because we see amongst our peer groups significant numbers of members of our families with hypertension or high blood pressure, hardened arteries, difficulty of blood to circulate around our bodies. One of the primary causes is salt. So I simply ask you to consider the amount of salt you're ingesting. And similarly, I ask you to consider the amount of fat and carbohydrate you're consuming. Okay? I'm not saying stop it all. I simply say consider the quantums. Okay, fat. Go to the butchers. Empress. You'll see some of the meat with these white streaks in it, and some of them's got large lumps of white streaks in it. That's simply fat, isn't it? Simply fat. Yeah. Or when you grill the meat, what happens when you think it's the juice coming out the meat, but actually it's the fat. It's the fat, And what happens? We ingest the fat, and what it does, it kind of bloats our bodies. We store it. You see people with these bloated abdomens, bloated thighs, bloated hips, bloated shoulders, and you see their necks around it, Now, I simply ask people to consider, do you want to be that way? Human beings are not naturally that way. And the biggest problem we have in our community right now is, of course, obesity. In the United States, can you imagine amongst the African American community, the Black community in America, 80% of the women are overweight, and 8% of that percentage are obese, morbidly obese. Can you imagine? Yeah. True, not quite so much in the Caribbean, but here in Britain, the numbers are off the scale. And it's even worse case scenario when women per height are heavier than the men. Huh? Come on. That's got to be crazy, isn't it? Yep. And that's primarily down to our cuisine, our lifestyles. Yeah. So, of course, I ask you, please, to consider the amount of fat we're ingesting, both in the form of fat from meat or indeed dairy products. And I challenged during the week that I said that dairy products are just fat. It is fat. Cheese is just coagulated milk. Yeah, hardened fat. That's what it is, fat. Butter, it's just another form of cow's fat, you know? Okay. Margarine, it's been a process, but it's still fat. Basically, just fat. Milk or bovine lactose, yeah? It's primarily fat intended for cows. But we drink it, it's still compatible with our bodies. So this fat pervades our cuisine, pervades our environment. I simply ask the listeners, the viewers, to consider the amount of fat we are ingesting into our bodies. And of course, carbohydrates. Now, Empress, we spoke about this last week, of course. Carbohydrate pervades our cuisine, particularly in some of these root vegetables like the yam and the potatoes and so on, They're full of carbohydrate. And again, what do we do? We store it in our bodies. In likely event we're going to starve. That's what our body's thinking, I'm going to store this. But what it does, we bloat our bodies and put undue weight onto our hearts. And so, of course, each of us will be aware of people with these conditions because they pervade our communities. Starch is another one, of course, and that's primarily from rice, the amount of rice we're consuming versus green vegetable, This is the challenge we have for our communities. Now, I realize when you develop a lifestyle, you've been taught this from children, it's very difficult to change, isn't it, Empress? Very, very challenging.
Everything is in moderation. Like I always say, everything is in moderation. And I've started intermittent fasting diet. So basically, I have food before 7 o'clock. I have a big lunch around between 12 and 3, and then I eat dinner and I don't eat anything after that. And it's very small portions. I have hot lemon water with mint in my tea, bloatiness, the fact that you could feel quite heavy. So it's like just changing small things in your diet to help you. But I do think it's in moderation, because also I know sometimes if I don't eat carbohydrates, I get a really bad headache. And I don't know whether that's just because my body's so used to it or I'm just accustomed to having carbohydrates. And I know we should eat more green fruit, vegetables like spinach, chard, cabbage, which I love anyway, with a bit of butter, sorry. But, melt it down, a bit of salt and pepper, a bit of garlic, a nice bit of lasagna. But I like I say, everything is in moderation. And I think we as a community need to be aware, because even when I was walking down the street the other day, I saw a little girl, probably 5 or 6. Her and her mum were both rounded, very quite round, and they were both to walk in Marks and Spencer's. But even though they were going for the fruit, she was quite heavy for her age. And I just thought, like, oh my God, look how big she is. She's bigger than my son, who's 10.
Yes.
And to me, that's amazing. Like, that a child could be so big, but then when you look at the mum, and it made no fault of the mum, she's a very big girl, and at that age she's causing herself a lot of problems as she gets older. We're not saying for you to cut everything out completely, we're just saying in moderation. And also an alternative is Himalayan salt, because Himalayan salt puts back all the nutrients that your body needs as well, not too much into your body. So that's a good alternative to salt that I use as well, rather than
thank you. Thank you for that. But that's really important feedback. Because we've had on this show a nutritional pharmacist, Elijah Timop, and he provides some useful guidance as well about the quantum of food that we eat per meal. Should be no more than our fist. Can you imagine, no more than a fist, But you're right, let me move on to the positive. What we should, of course, be doing is eating far more fruits and vegetables, particularly green vegetables, a broad range of vegetables. Okay? That is what human beings live on, fruits and vegetables. Okay? A broad range of vegetables, particularly green vegetables. This is an incredibly important part of who we are, incredibly important part of our diet. Really is important. Drinking the appropriate amount of water is critical to our overall health and well-being. Here we are. I've got my water handy here, and of course I keep it handy as I need to sip water. try to drink, I'm told by the expert, between 2 to 3 liters per day. I recommend, please, I'm not an expert. Go speak to your doctor or a nutritionist or whoever has access to your medical records. That person is the best person to give you the more appropriate advice, which are appropriate for you. See your doctor, see your nutritionist, and they're the ideal persons. Please, we're not experts, but we do know common sense when we hear it, okay? Which is what I'm sharing with you today. Simply common sense advice. Okay?
But it's also, as you get older, your body's not the same. So you have to do more for like vitamins, certain foods that you eat, you have to be careful. As we get older, especially our bone density in the African American and the Asian community, our bone density gets weaker. So we have to be mindful of the stuff we put in our bodies. Again, as we get older, there's more health implications on our body. So we have to change the way we eat. We have to alter it. If we want to live longer and see our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren, we have to change the way we eat. And, also eating at home is more better for you than eating out. I'm not saying don't eat out a lot. I'm just saying in moderation, birthdays, meeting up with friends, but eating at home cooked food is the best food you can ever eat.
Wonderful, wonderfully said. And let me just conclude this section by saying this. It's we talked about the fruits and vegetables and drinking the appropriate amount of water, but most critically, you've got to exercise. All this wonderful food and so on and so on. It's all great. You don't exercise, it defeats the purpose of you taking care of yourself. It's important to exercise. Now, again, I'm not an expert, but moderate exercise seems to be right. Or brisk walk, I'm told, a brisk walk, slightly faster than normal for 10, 15, 20 minutes. It's a good way of keeping your body agile, okay, and boosting your immune systems, okay, because that's what's most critical. That will enable you to survive the many maladies, the viruses, the germs, all those other physiological conditions that affects us. That's the way to avoid them. Exercise is absolutely critical. It's got to be critical. I've got my weights there. I was doing this whilst I waited for you. Oh my dear. Okay, you can see it. Oh, but you can't see it very well today. Okay, there you are. How about that, Empress? Oh, there we. Oh,
yeah, but you always do it on one arm. So you do it on one arm. So if you only do it on one arm, it's only that one arm that's going to get the most muscle.
Okay. Are you happy now? Are you happy now?
I'm happy. But also, the motivator, we have loads of lovely bridges and loads of lovely parks in London. So what I'm saying to viewers is get a group of yourselves, go to a park, go skipping, do some jumping jacks, walk along the lovely bridges, jog along the lovely bridges. I'm not saying walk, jog, and then you get to see some of the views of London as well. And then maybe go for like a lunch together. So there's so many ways that you can motivate each other with exercise as well.
Well said. Communal living, where we are engaged in activities together. And together we motivate and encourage each other to exercise and live life to the full. That's what's absolutely necessary. I know some people say, oh, here he goes again. But until the figures of diabetes, hypertension, the number of cancers in the community, the number of those of us who seem to be coming down with so many of these lifestyle conditions decline, I have absolutely no choice but to keep reminding listeners to take care of yourself, okay? And if in doubt, seek out professional advice. Don't listen to any random person on some random videos you might be sent. Go to whoever has access to your medical records, or you trust because they have given you sound medical advice in the past to which you benefited from. Okay, but please do not listen to any random person to give you your medical advice. What is it? What we say, Empress? Your health is your wealth. Yeah, your health is your wealth. Okay, And that's one of my regular guests here would say, and it is such a profound observation. It is not Africa's natural resources that's the source of its wealth. It's the technologies that derive from those natural resources, which is the source of the wealth. And the technologies, that's what we need to be good at, creating new technologies. That Ndidi Ishowa, a wonderful woman, and I hope she's listening. A big shout out to her. She's there based in Nigeria. We need to get her back soon, I'm sure. But anyway, that's enough of the health messages. I hope, please, listeners, if in doubt, seek out professional advice. Okay, and if we're getting this wrong, if you believe that what we've described is incorrect, I don't mind you calling in now. Why? Because this is a sort of discussion I want to have with the community. Okay, anyway, I'm going to put up on the screen. There you are, new graphics on the screen. You can call the number now if you've got any doubt about the health advice we just given out. The number to call is 0208 133 5616. And if you're international, it's +44. You take off the first zero, it's 208 133 5616. If you've got any doubt about the health advice we've just given out, and I'm sure there's some of you who you'd like to challenge us. I was challenged on the salt. I've been challenged on the sugar. I've been challenged on the exercise. Can you believe it? We don't need to do exercise because we are Africans and we are naturally fit. Oh my God, can you believe that? Such propaganda that they've absorbed, And we are very vulnerable, the community, to negative propaganda. That much is assured. But there you are. That's the number to call if you feel you want to discuss health messages. Okay, you've only got a few minutes, but and whilst you're thinking about it, let me have a further dialogue with Empress Abner.
What would you like to talk to me about today, Dr. Demotivator? What would you like to say? And thank you for the Herman Irish for telling me about my contrast. I've tried to fix it, so thank you for the advice.
Right. Yes. We've got some new technology today, and it will be refined. But I think you can see there's some different look and feels. It will improve. Don't you worry. We continue.
We like the modernization. Modernization. We like it. We like it.
There you are. Oh, well, you're looking well, huh? Now then, a question for you. Okay. What's been the most significant activity that happened to you this week?
Oh, I don't know if I should say this online. My son started year 6 this year, this term. So he's going secondary school next year, so I'm a bit nervous. So I'm really excited for him. He seems really excited. So I was applying for schools, and we've just been talking about activities he wants to do. So I've got a mini preteen, I would say, an upcoming preteen going to be living in my house soon. So I'm so proud of him and everything he's achieved so far. So yeah, I think that's the most exciting thing that's happened this week to me. And also one of my best friends is going to have her baby soon. So we're just waiting for the new arrival. So I'm going to be an auntie again. So that's very exciting. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Could it be an auntie again? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And do you know the gender at this stage?
No, she doesn't want to know. When the baby comes, we'll all find out.
Okay. And what about the change in Prime Minister? Do you have an opinion about the change in Prime Minister that's happened this week?
Oh God, do we? To be honest, the only thing I normally watch is the World Cup. I don't really pay much attention to the politics side because I just think it's very controversial on a lot of levels. I loved Labour many years ago when Labour was in power. I think certain political parties are for the elite and they're not for the working class. But, that's just my opinion. If they supported the working class, supported certain communities more, there would be a significant change in how the UK would look. But, again, it's down to those in power to decide what's best for our country. So, I think once you've lived in a community and you understand and you've come up to a certain level and you respect the community that you come from, you would invest more in that community. But we'll just have to see what she can do and whether she can prove herself to be a top prime minister.
You make a really good point, and you say that despite the fact the Conservative Party have appointed the first Black Chancellor.
And he's Ghanaian!
And he's Ghanaian as well. Again.
Yeah.
It's quite remarkable. I think it's quite remarkable myself. I'm very impressed. And of course, we have the first Black Foreign Secretary as well. Isn't that quite remarkable? Yeah. I don't think he is, no. I just find it quite remarkable. The Conservative Party has managed that. The Conservative Party was, of course, the first party to have the first non-white Home Secretary. I'm not going to comment on the past Home Secretary because there's a lot to be said, but nevertheless, they've broken ground in ways which you're 100%. Right. It is quite remarkable, and it's difficult to criticize them in that regard. Okay. Nevertheless,
for me, I'm excited because it shows. I want our children to see that we can be great. We are not limited. There is no glass. The glass ceiling is not half full. We can break that glass ceiling. We can do anything we want to do and achieve it. We just have to put in the work. So if you've got two people in the Tory party who are from the Afro-Caribbean community, why can't it be more? Why can't we reach those kind of goals in future for our children? And we need to show them that, because we don't show them that, or the media doesn't show them that. So if we can show them that we've got, I think his name Kwame or Kwesi, Chancellor, not really sure of his name, but if we can show our children that this is what you can be, or near enough, it will be a great achievement. Because I think we need to do that. We need to show them that the limits are endless. And the possibilities.
100% agree. 100% agree. And I say I don't often comment on the Conservative Party, but I have to say I'm not one to be lost for words, but I was impressed. I was very impressed, and of course, they're the same party who had an Asian and an African person who could have been a potential leader. It is, luckily, I've got to declare I'm a member of the Labour Party, and I'm indeed a Labour councillor. So yes, I was very impressed by them, very impressed. And those of you from my party who think about these matters, the fact that I'm impressed by the opposition is something else, and I don't say it lightly. It is quite astonishing. So I hope, because we have a situation here in this part of London, in Southwark, where the current MP for Camberwell and Peckham, Howard Harman, who is represented the constituency, she's been an outstanding MP for this area, an absolutely outstanding MP. But she decided not to stand next general election.
That would be a shame, a big shame.
It is hoped, if I may say so, and I don't mind saying to the entire world, it is hoped in a borough in which the nearly half the population of diverse communities like ourselves, that it is hoped that my party will see the merits, absolute merits, for the very first time, to identify a talented person of our community to represent the Camberwell and Peckham constituency. It is my sincere hope that is possible. I know the Southwark Labour Party has been an outstanding party when it comes to equality matters. I can only hope that this CLP, Constituency Labour Party, can match the visionary zeal that had been displayed by the Southwark group of Labour councillors, who we control the borough, and we've displayed, I believe, true leadership in matters of equality. It is hoped that the CLP will do the same. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let me move on to another subject, because these are useful, interesting pointers of what's happened since we last met. Empress Abner, one last
hit me with it. What's going on?
Go on. Yeah. Oh, we've lost your sound. We've lost your sound. Say again, please.
I said, tell me what's going on.
Let me tell you. So here's another issue for contention, and I think it will be quite interesting to consider. Okay, that's of course our community. Okay, we are made up of many nationalities. Okay, and of course, Her Royal Highness last week made it clear that we've all got to work together towards common aim, common purpose. But she said it far more eloquently than I did. And I do believe that in our community, we need those who hold our identities in their hands, such as Her Royal Highness Na Tesoso. Yeah? That those who hold our identities in their hands, okay, and have leadership position, come together across the nationalities, across the African nationalities, and indeed African Caribbean nationalities, come together in common aim and common purpose, because this is most critical if we are to move forward. Because being able to move forward with determination is going to be critical, absolutely critical. Okay, because working together, we are likely to create opportunities that we would all benefit far greater than if we compete amongst ourselves. Okay, so I hope that the community will continue to come round common aims, common purpose. Regardless if you are Ghanaian or Nigerian, you are of Jamaican heritage, or indeed Namibian heritage, Sierra Leone, Tanzanian, Zimbabwean, Trinidadian, yeah, that you will come together in common aim and common purpose. Absolutely critical for us to move forward. Absolutely critical. This is why you understand, my interest, that it's so necessary for us to give light to the different African countries, indeed Caribbean countries, give 100%. Light to their achievements, to their history and achievements, and why they are attractive places for us to reside. Okay? So I'm just going to keep saying this. Unity is strength. A person by the name of Marcus Mosiah Garvey said this with such determination. Yeah, unity is strength. Okay, I just really want to say that. I know even in Ghana, you have different groups, different communities. There is some competition amongst them, but not realizing we mustn't compete to the extent that we allow others then to take over control of the land, resources, and indeed our worldviews. Really an important message, a really important message. But anyway, what's your view on that subject, Empress?
Say that again.
Well, what is your view on the subject of us working together as the communities?
I think we do it, but we are not consistent. We make the attempt, and if maybe there's a glitch or something doesn't work well, we don't work on how to improve it. I think everybody has ideas, but whether sometimes the ideas work together can also be a problem, because there could be language barriers. Certain people are more conservative than others. It just depends on, what we're trying to achieve as well, generally. But I think sometimes they do work, like Notting Hill Carnival is great. When Southwark have festivals, they're really great. But I think some communities prefer to stay within their communities as well. And we need to try to encourage them to mix with other communities a lot more and to get to know other communities rather than staying with their own. Because as we know, UK is very diverse and they're not where they used to come from. They've come to UK, so they need to integrate a bit more as well. And I just think we need to try to reach out to those families as well, within schools, within youth clubs, within services. We just need to integrate more as well.
What does integration mean? When you say integration, you don't mean one has given up your culture and your heritage. What do you mean is
just trying to find out about each other, trying to learn from each other, trying to embrace something different. And because I'm all about embracing, like if you meet my immediate social circle, there's not one person that's from the same place. And I love that because we learn from each other, we grow with each other. And I think certain boroughs do have that, and I think Southwark is quite great for that because we have the Asian community, the Turkish community, the Turkish Cypriot community, we have the Bengali community, the Pakistani, the Indian, the Ghanaian, Nigerian, Somali community. So I think certain parts of Southwark are very diverse and very, rich in culture. You go to Brixton, again, another place that's very rich in culture, Kennington. There are pockets of different, ethnicities, and I do love that. You go to Elephant and Castle, and there's South American food there, there's African food there, there's Caribbean food there, there's Thai food there, Chinese food. It's great.
You are 100%
I don't even know what to choose.
In other words, it's the when you say work together, it's really mutual respect for each other's culture and traditions, etc. Yeah,
100%.
I understand that, and that's what gives, particularly borough like Southwark, its greatest strengths. I know that for some communities in Southwark, it is uncomfortable sharing the space with other people, and I get that, and I know even sometimes in part of the council itself, it can appear to be kind of sort of monocultural at the moment, at least. And I know that the leadership will recognise that there is some change which is necessary. There's no doubt. Just so that not only the political groupings are sensitive to the needs of the diverse communities, but the officer groupings are also diverse enough to understand intimately the needs of the people that we all ultimately serve. Okay, so it's an interesting one, and particularly local government needs to think it through. How to ensure that local government workforce is indeed diverse. Okay, and I see across London, particularly amongst the more senior officers across councils here in London, I can't talk about outside London, it is still tended to be monocultural at the moment, despite the fact that London is a centre of genuine diversity for Britain. So these are changes, are necessary changes in order for London to capitalise on the incredible advantage having this diverse community offers to it. Okay, so there you are. Anyway, so it's one to think about. It is one to think about. Now, I want to, if I may, I'm just going to wait our guest, and I know that we have a person on the line now. Yes, we're getting some feedback on the Black Radio Archives channel. I'm not sure if it's our end or your end. Let's see what we can do just to avoid the feedback. Oh, that's a little better. That's better. Yeah, thank you. So this program is going out across internet radio as well, so it's all good. So, if I may, let's turn to Namibia. Okay. And it is a truly fascinating country. A truly fascinating country. and one that we've not previously had the opportunity to discuss. And it's one that I think we should discuss and explore. And our guests, when our guests arrive, I hope we'll be able to give some light to this. And I don't know, but if I ask you, Mike, but what do you know about Namibia?
I'm not going to even be disrespectful, but I actually know nothing about Namibia. I know a lot more about East, West, and North Africa. I think if I haven't really come in contact with something, and this is not me being ignorant, I don't think I've ever taken such a big interest in Namibia. Personally, myself, you know, we go to school and say, what countries do you want to learn about today? And then, you pick a country. I would say I would probably pick the West Indies or South America, but I don't really know much about Namibia. I know it was called Republic of Namibia and then it's changed its name. I know that they have the Namibian dollars. It was ruled by the German Empire in 1884. What else do I know? It has sand dunes. This is stuff that I've found on Wikipedia today, people. So don't think this is just all coming off the top of my head. This is stuff I found on Wikipedia. I heard they're a great people. The food is great. They have a mixed demographic. So, yeah, that's what I know about Namibia people so far.
Yes. Again, you make my point for me. And that's why these programs are so important. Okay. And we'll eventually do every country across the continent and, of course, the Caribbean, really to heighten our understanding of the people, the culture, traditions, the history. Okay. And through this, we are able to demystify what the propaganda that we may have taken on board from others. Okay? And this is why these programs are important. But I know, growing up in this country, the perception of the rest of the world was, quite frankly, warped, really quite warped. And as a consequence, if I were of English heritage, and I viewed the world through the education that I'd received at school, I would have a very strange view of myself as being different from the rest of the world. I'm not going to say superior, but somehow better. I'm not going to say more civilized, but somehow, almost elitist. That was the propaganda that was taught to English, Scotch, Welsh, and of course some Irish children here in this country. And
but
this
again,
is what. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, but even now, the stuff that they teach in schools, and when my son comes home and tells me stuff, that still exists in our school.
Wow.
And the way they teach it to children, and when my son comes home and asks me questions, I have to remind him that he's a king, he's a prince. And no matter what the school says, you need to learn about your history yourself. And that's why I try to instill stuff in him before he goes to school. And that's why for parents, it is important to know the topics your children are learning, so it is not misconstrued about what they're teaching your children. Because remember, there's a lot of history that is not taught to your children. So we need to be mindful of how the schools are teaching your children and what you need to make sure you're emphasizing and adding on the extras that they're missing out on. Because you don't want your child to feel less of their person or less of their worth because of what the school is teaching them. And remember, they only teach a certain amount of Black history or certain things that are important to our children to make them grow and feel special about themselves. Because we come from a great background. We are a great ethnicity generally. And I think people sometimes disregard the importance of our generations and our ancestors, and we need to not let our children disregard that, or history disregard that, or schools disregard what we have grown to come and achieve.
Wonderfully said. I can make a politician out of you. You keep that up. Oh my dear.
No, thank you. I'm all about the communities. I told you, don't do politics.
Well, if I may say so, if I were in Parliament, I would have said much the same that you just described. But clearly, the way in which history is taught in Britain is harming Britain. It is actually harming Britain. I know there are many English, Scotch, Welsh, and Irish people who will not understand this, but they're actually harming Britain, the way in which history is taught. Okay? Because, of course, Britain relies upon international relations. Britain relies upon international trade to create its wealth. Okay. And in order for that trade to flourish, there has to be mutual respect between the traders of all sides. Okay. And if that's not achieved, then Britain will continue in an industrial decline. Okay. And look, I'm not going to rake up the old argument about Europe, but I do believe it was a mistake to leave Europe, but I'm not going to go there in terms of that dialogue, okay? Because again, working together with your partners to achieve a common aim, a common purpose, is likely to mean that you become greater than the individual parts. Do you see? And it's very rarely that an economist or a mathematician will argue that rationale is explained is not rational. Okay? So anyway, we're not in Europe any longer, and Britain, if it is to survive in the international market, will most certainly have to evolve as a nation, as a people. And that means how you teach history, how you appreciate other people's cultures and traditions will be critical to your trading success. You can no longer impose yourself on others. It will be through mutual cooperation, mutual respect, if you like. Okay. What do you think about that, my Empress? Whilst you're doing, I'm going to turn off my camera. I just want to check our guest. Keep talking. Keep talking.
I personally don't think we should have left the EU. That's just my personal opinion. I think we could have gained a lot from still being in the EU, but it's different for everybody else. Again, I don't really get into the political aspect of the government. I listen, if it affects my community, I make sure they're aware of it and tell them to watch the news when certain things happen. But I do try to stay away from the politics and just focus on the things I need to really focus on. I'm interested to learn about Namibia today. Definitely interested to learn about Namibia, as I don't really know much about the country. So it will be a lesson for myself and obviously you guys who are not from Namibia, and maybe a place that may be on my hit list to go. I hope you guys are enjoying the show. I hope you're going to have a great weekend today. I'm looking forward to all the comments and the questions as well today. I'm just looking forward to having a great weekend as well.
Is everybody? Words.
I am lost for words today. I am. Also, I want to say DNA are doing an African show from April to the end of this year about cloths from different materials from different parts of Africa. Please go and see it. I will be there next week at the DNA Museum. It is called, let me just find out what it's called for you guys again, just to make. It is called Fashion Temple Exhibition Space, and it is on from April to the end of the year. Please go and have a look. And they have loads of discounts as well for people that want to go. Obviously, it's a paid exhibition, but you should really go and look at it. Take your children as well. All a very good learning experience for them as well. Demotivator. Is there any questions anyone wants to ask me as well? I'm happy to answer any questions. And if anybody has any events that they would like to tell us about that we can mention as well on the station, I'm happy to mention anything that involves community, families, and also I can tell the parents that I work with as well. So if anybody has any events that are coming up and you think that would be good for families, please let me know as well.
You're 100% correct. And let's say those of you who are viewing us via YouTube or Facebook, if you want to connect to us, the chat line is open. I see. I now see it. There are a number of chats here on the line. I see an interesting one. Okay, that's good. If you want to chat to us, you can via YouTube or Facebook. Go to the Space Motivator show, and the chat is available for you to interact with us here in the studio. And yes, indeed, Erman, thank you for that feedback. I'm interested to hear your views, listeners, on a whole range of subjects. And I'm interested to know if any listener has ever visited Namibia. I'm interested in this because I've met a number of Namibians here in South London, okay, and it is interesting that it's one of those countries that we have not previously discussed, okay, but Namibia is rich in raw natural materials, you know. It truly is a rich country, okay, but remember, it is not the raw material, the natural material that matters. It's the technologies. That's where our focus got to be, that derive from those raw materials, those natural materials. You know? So it is a place to watch. It has incredible economic potential as a nation, but it's about to say, the numbers of people that live there is relatively small when you compare it to its size, which is many times the size of Europe as a whole, but has a fraction of the population. So
they speak German there. They speak German.
Yes, it was part, as you mentioned, it was a German colony at one point. Yes, indeed. Okay. So there's a sizable German population there still. Apparently.
Yeah, because I know a lot of African countries speak Dutch, because Ghana was ruled by the Dutch for a bit. I know South Africa and a few other countries in the south of Africa speak Dutch. Afrikaans, Arabic is very widely spoken. But Dutch, I wasn't sure. And I know in some parts of Somalia and in East Africa, they speak Italian. So, you know, it's interesting to see how the world has moved around and integrated and moved through Africa.
This is so true. Again, you make another one of those really important points that Africa is truly a diverse continent. There are more ethnicities in Africa than in any other continent in the world. Okay, so we are truly a rich people, truly rich. And of course, what's more important, I've said this many, many times, I know, I say this. I live here in Britain, okay? I'm of African heritage, okay? But I've not met a woman in China, but if I was to meet a woman in China, that woman and I could have a child together. And that's ample evidence, if you needed ample evidence, that we are but one human family. Huh? Is that right, my Empress?
We are.
We are but one human family. And it is really important for us to keep that in mind, because there are many out there who'd want to take advantage and use surface differences as a reason to divide and rule. Okay, and many of those divisive persons have been successful, have truly been successful. But actually, we are but one human family. And if you think in those terms, we know that we are our brothers and sisters' keepers, wherever they might be in the world. So if you see someone who is suffering, it is our human duty to help that human being, yeah, young or old, yeah, male or female, doesn't matter their ethnicities, yeah, we are but one human family. Okay, and I think that's another one of these important messages we need to get across. We need to get across, and why these programs are so essential. We must demystify the propaganda that's been built around the motherland of Africa. We must demystify it so that there are no barriers before us. Okay. And tell me, my Empress, and tell the people the one interesting reason why I really wanted you to be here as one of our co-hosts. Okay, your work in schools, yeah. Tell us about your work in school. What lessons have you learnt from working in schools? What lessons you've learned from working in schools?
That parents, families, children all matter. Mental well-being matters. Giving our children a safe space to be who they want to be really matters. Being someone that they can listen to and talk to, be a voice for them is really, really important. Like, when parents are struggling, when, parents don't have enough food to feed their children, or, parents are really trying to make a difference for their children and they don't know how. For me, that's really, really important. I strive to empower and better families in their economic, housing, social situation. I will try my best to push forward, even in their education. I will push for their child to reach their true potentials, the families to reach their true potential. And, I think having, friends say I have a caring nature, which allows me to do the job that I do now is really, really important. I think having empathy and coming from that community really, really helps. And that's why I do the job that I do. I'm just really about the community and really about my people. Seeing a family come from nothing and succeeding makes me really, really happy. Like, I don't think I could see myself doing any other job than what I'm doing now, because for me it's so important to push and represent my families when they have no voice, especially when they don't speak English or they've just come here and they're trying to make something of themselves and they have been pushed back by everybody. I think for me that's really, really important. It's just not I think it's something that I live and breathe for, because the community is very important. This community has raised me. When my mum was out working, my mum relied on friends, family, youth clubs, those around her to raise me. So I think for me, I need to instill that in the people that I work with as well, and the parents that I come into contact with, because it's just really, really important. I love my job. I love the people that I work with, the families that I meet. They're so humble, and there's no pride, and I love that in them. I just love the fact that they come to me and they know I'm not going to create a miracle. They know I'm just going to try my best and speak on their behalf. And I truly love my job. Like, I used to work with special needs children before, and I decided to work with families because I felt that, I need to bridge the gap between the families and services in Southwark. So I definitely am striving to do better for my families, and I will continue to try and do better for my family. Sometimes I do take the work home, and that can be a big hindrance of mine, bringing the work home. But I do love it, and I've mentioned this before. So if anyone can ever do some volunteering work with families, if you know any information to support families, I'm very happy to hear it. And if you are a service and that wants to come and speak to me and work with one of my families, or introduce yourself to the community in Southwark, Lambeth, those are the two boroughs I mostly work with, please don't hesitate. Or someone that's that needs some support within the Southwark and Lambeth boroughs, and I can offer some support or give some advice, or signpost you to places, I'm very happy to do that as well. But yeah, I genuinely love my job, and I think probably if I could do it 7 days a week, I would. But obviously, I need a break too because I have a child. But yeah, definitely, I do love being a family support worker, parent support worker. There are many different names for it. I do generally enjoy it. And I generally enjoy being on the radio station as well and talking to you guys about things that are happening. But yes, have a research about Namibia. You know, if you've got any questions to ask the guest when he comes on about Namibia, that would be great, because it's always great dialogue. But yeah, I'm definitely about the community. I'm definitely looking forward to what the next couple of months hold with the Prime Minister, with the changes that are happening in terms of electric prices, gas prices, you know. Also, everybody look on Uswitch as well, to see about prices that could help lower your costs, see what is available for those who are on universal credit, because I know they're introducing stuff. If you're a parent that's struggling with uniform, I know the government did introduce a uniform grant for kids that were going back to school. I think it was £150. So do look up what is happening to support families as well and yourselves in the community. There's loads of things, there's loads of incentives like that. In terms of your health, gyms are opening up and they do discounts for people as well. That's something to look at. But I think, yeah, just keep being great. Keep listening, keep being great. That's really, really important as viewers and for yourselves. Also, if anybody struggles with mental health in our community, please, there is the Black River Counselling that's in Southwark. There's Young Minds. There is Childline, Samaritans, Youth Access as well. They are great services for mental health. If you're suffering with food issues as well, there's a Trussell Trust, there's Pecan, there is also Brixton Soup Kitchen, which is great as well for supplying families with food. See what your schools could offer for families that are struggling as well. And just speak to anybody, just try to reach out as well. I think that's really, really important, because Southwark is a great and rich, diverse borough, which does offer a lot of support. And if you're ever in need as well, please don't feel the need not to reach out to us as well. And I do think our guest has arrived. I'm hoping that's our guest. But yeah.
Indeed, you are. And let's see if we can connect with our guest. And well done, my Empress. That's why you're here.
No, I think I've bored them stiff.
I don't believe you did. You displayed your empathy. And
yeah.
that's well.
I didn't sing. I don't know the Ghanaian national anthem, so I can't sing that, or the Namibian, so I didn't sing any of that.
Well,
so they're very
okay. We don't want you to sing this yet, anyway. Professor Earle, can you hear us all right? Professor Earle?
Yes, I can hear you quite well.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Great. Okay. How are you this fine day, first of all?
I'm feeling great, Mm-hmm. The weather is fine,
mm-hmm.
and I'm healthy.
Welcome, Brother Earle. Welcome. That's good to hear.
Professor Earle, that's my co-presenter, Empress Abner. Yeah, there you are. Okay. Now I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to go straight into the interview. That's okay with you, sir?
That's fine. That's fine.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, first of all, you're a professor, and you are, and I understand that you are a Jamaican national, okay, but based in Namibia.
Yes.
How did that happen? Correct. How did that happen?
Well, I worked for the UN for several years, during which time I was the regional director for Southern Africa.
Okay.
And I covered from Botswana, Zimbabwe, all except South Africa. And eventually I was asked to lead a study for Namibia after independence. And I got introduced to Namibia and became increasingly attracted to Namibia until 1997, when I was asked again by the Commonwealth if I could assist Namibia in implementing its track for industrialization and for higher education and science and technology. So that's when I came back to Namibia for a 3-month stay, because I was also in the Senate of the Jamaican government, and I asked for leave, and they gave me 3 months leave to assist Namibia. Well, of course, 3 months became 6 months, 6 months became a year, and then I was forced to resign because I was getting so involved that I could not leave Namibia at the time. So I resigned from the parliament, and I'm still
So you were a
here. But I
politician.
still work for Jamaica. Pardon me?
Okay. So you were a politician.
No, well, not really. I was invited into the politics.
Okay, right.
For skills, and
I understand.
I got interested in it, but to a point.
Mhm. Yes. Okay, I understand you. But I also understand that you are the Chancellor of the Caribbean School of Medicines and Sciences. Is that right? You
Yes,
still hold that post?
yes,
Wow.
yes,
You're kept very busy, sir.
yes. I work 2 days per day.
Mhm.
Jamaica is 7 hours behind Namibia. So when I'm finished with Namibia's work, my Jamaican work starts.
Wow.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I do on average 17, 18 hours per day.
Wow.
Wow. I want the children to listen to this. Yes. So what does that work entail for being, as you are the
Okay.
chancellor? What does that work entail?
We are in a new environment, and the Caribbean School began in 2013. It's the newest university in Jamaica, and it is responding to the needs and the trends for medicine, for medical care. Not only in Jamaica, in the Caribbean. In fact, we have students in Africa as well, and America. So the Caribbean School probably is the most flexible of the universities because it's private sector driven.
Okay.
So it can respond very quickly and easily to requirements of governments across the region in Jamaica. And so this university has been established from the Winchester Medical Institute, which was a group of doctors providing multidisciplinary care. And they formed the institute. And it grew from that institute into, before it became university, it was a higher education institution. And then it was granted a charter in 2017 as a full university. And then it gained its accreditation status, both in Jamaica and in the US. It trains for the the license for American University to practice in American University.
I see.
And so
And
the
so,
chancellor provides the sort of leadership and guidance to the university, because we have a board of governors that has a chair, and the chancellor guides that board, keep them motivated, inform them of the global trends and what is necessary to be a competitive player in the higher education space,
right.
and
Okay.
to access funding and from foundations and from sponsors to promote public good research, and cooperation
Okay.
with other likely competent bodies across the globe.
I understand you, and thank you. But I've did some research on that particular organisation, and it's extremely important for the development of Jamaica and the Caribbean. But if I make, I'm going to hand you over to my co-presenter, Empress Abinat. She's got a question for you as well.
I wanted to know if you were also the deputy chair of the Jamaican Tertiary Education Commission.
Yes, yes.
Wow. And what does that entail?
17 hours a day, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Myself.
What does that entail?
Okay. The JTEC is the quality assurance body for higher education in Jamaica.
Okay.
If you know, quality assurance is the fundamental basis on which you provide education to the expectation of the people.
Yes.
So you publish your standards, and the education institutions comply with that standard to make sure that you are able to provide the level of education expected by the standard, and that standard internationally comparative. So you have quality in programs, quality in the management and of the organization. So institutional quality, program quality are assured by this institution.
Okay.
And that institution enables you to access and to be mobile. Your students can register, because in UK or in USA, they have quality assurance bodies. And so that body relates and compares its performance and its programs to that international body. So there are international standards, and this is the protector and promoter of that standard.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And again, another important piece of work, really important, I must say. I must say that you will certainly work 18 hours a day. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I understand, Professor, that in addition to those other roles, that you are also the Deputy Vice Chancellor of the International University of Management in Namibia.
Yes, I was up until a year ago.
Okay. Right.
I retired 4 times already, so this is the 4th time. So I retired from the IUM a year ago.
Right.
So I'm on new assignments now.
Okay.
Wow.
So you're very.
But I still do the PhD supervision and guidance for a number of universities, not only IUM or the University of Namibia, but also in Jamaica, in South Africa, and Zimbabwe. So I'm still busy academically, only with the PhD program.
I understand. And you're connected with the Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania, PhD, is that correct?
Yes. And I was also associate professor there.
Wow.
So Professor, so what is your life mission? What is your life mission? Why do all of this?
Okay.
What is your life mission?
Okay. I see my mission as reaching out to a wider of people who can access education, who want to develop themselves but lack access for one reason or the other. And so I derive a lot of pleasure. In fact, what I do, I enjoy. So the time I spent is like I'm on holiday. I'm enjoying what I do because I'm satisfied with the progress that is being made and the achievements that are being had from what people say and do. If I walk down the street, I 10 different people come to me, professor. I don't know them, but they know me and they know what I do. And if I go to the shop, somebody is able to assist me because they have been impacted by what I've done. So I get a lot of satisfaction, not necessarily in direct money, but from the impact that I've been able to make in the lives of people. That makes me very happy. And so I enjoy my life and my work.
Yeah, that's a very beautiful thing and a humble thing, because not many people see their job as a holiday. You know, the input you've put in, the efforts, and you will feel it by the way people approach you and, you know, the way they talk to you. And I can feel that you are passionate. I can hear the passion in your voice. And it's amazing because not many people have that work ethic where they're passionate and that job is their life. And, you know, they're making a difference, you know, and I can definitely hear that in you. And it's great to know there are people out there doing that in Africa and in Jamaica, because not many people want to invest in our communities in that way. And I feel like you have really done that, and you've made those accolades and achievements to do that. So can you tell me about your honorary?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, go on.
I also, in fact, I also have that same contact in Jamaica. My friend Mark Walcott is there, and I was able to put him in the same sort of situation, and he's on his way back now to UK.
Okay.
But he has been, and I've had so much impact in Jamaica just from being here. So it's my lifelong mission to impact, to make impact, to create impact, to create changes. And if I can make a small change every day, I'm happy.
Yeah.
And if I can change somebody's life every day, I'm happy. And 100%. So that is the program I'm on. And it doesn't matter where.
Would you call yourself a Pan-Africanist, Professor?
Definitely. In fact, that is the driver, because I believe Marcus Garvey was a fantastic leader,
Definitely.
and his inspiration is just increasing every day on me.
Yes.
When I see the thousands of scholars that are trying to understand the philosophy that he demonstrated, and it just keeps budgeting. They're still unable to put the pieces together, because you see, as a black man emerging at a time when he did,
yes,
it is impossible to conceive how he did it without you know the professional education. And I am doing some research now on Garvey, because he is a self-schooled man. So he is devoid of the learning that I have, for instance, I've been given. I have been given learning that conditions my mind to believing in certain things. He has an open mind, so he's able to see far beyond my own vision, because he's not trapped by an education system that controls mind. So I am trying to detangle that entrapment
Yes.
But it's difficult because it's years of schooling from a system that didn't belong to me or didn't care much about me.
Indeed.
Marcus Garvey was fortunate in that he did not have that entrapment. So he did his own reading, he chose his own subjects, and he chose his own path. And so that gave new emphasis, a new vision, a new scope. And so I'm trying now to reconfigure my scope to say, as Mohammed would said, to unlearn what you've learned, to look at it in a different package, and to use the skill you have to manage that learning that you've gotten.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And I'd hope you say that. It is an interesting one because often, or I think we may have a caller. I think we may have a caller here. It's the Motivator Show. Good morning, caller. No? Okay. Oh, lost that person. Never mind. Don't worry, Professor. What you describe, Professor, is, of course, the inspiration behind the current Pan-Africanist movement, of course, towards reparations, to the realization of the potential that is amongst Africans worldwide. And of course, you exemplify the very best of us. And I want to encourage you to continue to do so. Although working 18 plus hours a day, I'm not always going to recommend is healthy, mind you, Professor. I may say so.
Yeah, but you see, in this work, I write poetry, and so in the middle of that, I get inspired and I write a poem. So I do many things in that 18 hours. I am working on research and an idea, and then I move to it. So it is not as boring as it looks or it seems.
Okay.
I make it interesting because.
Oh, that's your other phone, is it?
I'm in an interview now. Please, can we speak later?
Okay. There you are. There you are. Here's live multimedia platform, folks.
He's a popular man.
Professor, would you want to share a poem with us today?
That would be so
love
good.
to hear one of your poems.
Okay. Well, I must tell you before I share one. I've been writing poems from primary school.
Oh, okay.
That's great.
I did a poem just after the Queen arrived in Jamaica. I did a poem. And in my primary school, every year you recite, whether it's Claude McKay or a poem by somebody great. I decided to read my own poem. And I started that, and one of the first ones I did was to be young. To be young.
Okay.
And
Please,
the poem went essentially, I just the summary, the gist of it. You need to make your mistakes while you're young and green, because and to do it in a school, in a system that is closed, because if you don't, then when you are protected, you will not learn to deal with the bigger world where you're not protected, or you can be supervised. So learn while you are in school, when you have walls and rooms. Don't wait until tomorrow when you step out, because a mistake is going to be costly then. And there's nobody to help you because everybody is in the rat race. So that was that. But I did one just now for our independence, Namibian independence.
Okay.
Oh, that's very nice.
If you allow me 1 minute, I'll just
Yes, we want to hear your poems. You are an academic, a versatile academic, as well as that you write poems. Oh yeah, we definitely want to hear your poems. And
Listeners, you get health advice, you get poetry, you get creativity, community news.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah. You might get singing at some point.
Oh, we might sing. I bet we.
Okay.
The most interesting
this one here is that Namibia just celebrated its Heroes Day, and Namibia, coming from the liberation struggle, had a lot of issues to resolve. And the men who struggled most are least remembered. It's only the generals and so on that get the credit. So this was to the unknown soldiers. It's a tribute to Namibian unknown soldiers. History is rarely magnificent to the warrior, showing largely their dark and ugly side, omitting the hero of the frontline soldier and giving kudos only to them that guide. Today, we are tasked to correct this error, give due respect and honor to the unknown soldier, whose sweat, tears, fears mirror our founders' hope and that of our own. We shouldn't evoke our belief that victory is assured of our struggle for true liberty if we ignore those that wrote our history in blood for independence and prosperity. Today, we honor the multiple generations of Namibians, men, women, and children, and the families, friends of other nations who scuffled and struggled limbs, and dividend. Today, we pay tribute to many thousands that rallied behind and in front of Namibia liberation struggle. To them, we say thanks and pledge to be the good beacons of Africa. May memory, may mercy and blessing of the Almighty continue to abound to inspire prosperity across Namibia and every community and spew love and peace to all humanity. This was written 22nd of August, 2020.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Professor.
I wanted to ask, what are the investment opportunities in Namibia? Because I'm from Ghana and I don't really know much about Namibia and like the southern parts of Africa. So what would you say are the best investment opportunities in Namibia?
I worked 5 years in Ghana. I was the UN chief for the rehabilitation of Ghana after that, between 85 to 89 and 90.
Okay.
But we can touch that another day.
Yeah.
Namibia has a lot of investment opportunities. When I tell you a country that is so rich, yet so poor, but in terms of poor in the distribution of the wealth.
That's right.
We have 26 mines, active mines. 26, right as we speak, 26 active mines in Namibia. From diamond to gold to copper to uranium to magnesium, zinc, iron, and Namibia is the second largest producer of uranium.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In the world.
Yeah.
Diamond has been there, and Namibia grew from its birth through to diamond. diamond was the main resource, but there's resource in fishing. It has 7 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers of fish line, of sea coast. So it has a fishing industry that is just underexplored, and it's explored, it's exploited by others. It has all these minerals, but it doesn't add too much value locally. So the valorization locally is very limited. So anyone who has the capacity to valorize locally can make a fortune. But you see, it requires technology and investment.
Yes.
Definitely.
But you have that investment elsewhere, and you have technology. So it's not a matter. You don't need to do it in Egypt or Israel or US. You can bring that technology right on the shores here.
Okay.
Because the capital can move, the technology can move, and you can build up your skill base. Currently and recently, we have two huge finds, huge finds of oil and gas in the north and the south. Massive gas find, and they are now exploring Shell, and a number of companies, Qatar, are now opening for productions in another year or two. Then they have the hydrogen, what they call green hydrogen, capturing hydrogen.
Yes.
That's a massive field, and Namibia is one of the leading space for that type of energy capture. And already European countries have expressed not only intent, but they have expressed money contribution in terms of their off-taking the product. So they will be partnering with Namibia from the off-take side. So that, but you have tourism is an industry that was hidden because it was basically reserved for foreign travel tourists and people who wanted their own hunting schemes and hunting plans. So tourism, Namibia has, for example, much more tourism products than Jamaica.
Okay.
Yet it is not harnessing those because it never had to. It was dependent on mineral resource.
Right. Yes.
So it is now opening up that area, and for example, it has the second largest canyon, second to Grand Canyon in the United States.
Right.
It has in one country you have 4 seasons per day. You are in Windhoek, it's cold, and in Walvis Bay, hot.
Right.
In winter, the same thing goes. Cold one place and hot one place. You have in one country, you go to the south, you're like on the surface is like the moon.
Right.
Have you seen the moon surface? You think you're in the moon. The surface is like the moon. It's literally, and I reminded by the book written by John Gordon Davis, The Land God Made in Anger. And this is an unfinished land. It's up to you to finish it. There's so much to do, to see in Namibia. And it's in terms of size, it's huge. It's in size, in comparison to Jamaica, it's 70 times. In comparison to UK, it's 3.5 times. So it's in comparison to Ukraine, it's 1.5 times. So it's a huge landmass.
Yes. Yes.
And the opportunities are limitless.
Thank you,
But
Professor. Yes. Mhm.
yes,
Well,
so
well, no,
investment
you have
wise,
the fact.
yes.
Go ahead, Professor.
Yes, so the investment opportunities are, they are unlimited
Yeah.
for the right thing. Now, it has a small population, and so less than 3 million people on this vast piece of land and resource. It's impossible to develop it with 3 million people. So there is need for skill, for capital. Well, the capital is here. It's just the skill and the commitment
Yes.
to Namibia. Because a lot of people come and they're not committed, so they are leakers. They come to reap, but not to
Yes.
sow. And so
Yes.
Namibia began literally as a market, as a trading post.
Yes. Yes.
So the consumption side is very high. And if you see Namibia, you think you're in Paris, but it is the physical appearance, the visual appearance. But in terms of the investment depth, it's very not deep. So you see a lot of pretty buildings, high-rise buildings, but it's like a book without content.
Yes.
So we need the content to fill the book.
Yes,
So,
definitely.
Professor, in terms of visiting Namibia, is it relatively straightforward? Do you require a visa, or is it visa free? What are the restrictions in visiting the country?
Okay, I must be honest with you. Namibia is still a closed society, essentially. It is opening now, and in fact, Jamaica was one of the first countries to have given Namibia open access to Jamaica from its independence. And it's only 4 years ago they reciprocated that openness to Jamaica. And that started, and other countries, even in Africa, have started now to be opened to Namibia. Open to Namibia. So Jamaica has started that reciprocation of visa, no visa.
Right.
And Namibia is now opening it to other countries in Africa as well as across the globe. So it is slowly opening, but it has never really. Namibia don't travel that much to other countries like Jamaica or Nigeria, like Nigerians do. So they can migrate within Namibia for weather condition, for temperature condition. You don't have to go to Germany to get snow. We have snow here. We have cold here. We don't get it often, the snow, but it's cold. It goes down to minus degrees and so on. So within the same country, you have all this climate variation, and people migrate to their homeland, to their rural areas when it's hot, cold, or when it's day. So the vibration is not the same as. So to come back, the visa arrangement is opening.
Right.
After COVID, Namibia has lifted all COVID restrictions, so visitors no longer have to come with a PCR test and so on, nor any vaccination certificate. We are back. COVID is now treated like a flu.
Yes.
But they still reserve the right, if they suspect that you have it, to put you on the test.
Yeah.
So at the airport, they have intelligence people who are trained to detect either using instrument or physical. So they see signs of sickness and so on, or you pass through some instruments to capture certain indicators. If you go to Geneva, the same thing. You don't necessarily have to go. They capture it from even before you come. They capture your health status already.
Yeah.
So if I may then, professors, what you're really saying is that young people, say in Britain, young people of African heritage in particular, who are here in Britain, should make sure that they pay attention to their studies, gain the qualifications, because Africa is calling for them. Would that be a correct summary? Wonderful.
100%.
Africa, well, and Namibia in particular, they want skills. They want commitment. Two things: skills and commitment. The capital is here. The skills and commitment, and those are the two ingredients they're looking for now. They need people, but with skills and commitment.
Yes.
And
Understood.
that is, once you become Namibian, they want you to become Namibian, not Adler. You must become Namibian.
If I may, Professor, just to understand some of the social dynamics, and I'm just conscious of our time. But what are these sort of different peoples there in Namibia? Who are the main communities that make up the government? What are the main communities?
Okay. Namibia is a rainbow country. You have whites, Indians, Germans. The predominant group is black, of course, but you have a large percentage of Europeans, because Namibia was colonized first by Dutch, then German, then occupied by England for a short while after the war. Then South Africans, England passed to South Africa to manage. So you have South Africans, you have English, you have Germans, you have Europeans from Sweden to Finland, Russian. All those compact the population of Namibia. Indians, Chinese. So you have a rainbow of nations that comprise Namibia, but predominantly it's a black country. And the government is also reflect that competition as well.
Okay. So what is the main language spoken then?
Well, English is the official language.
Okay.
And there's only one official language. Although the education system recognizes some languages up to certain levels, but to work parallel with English. But the official communication and the official language is English.
Okay. Professor, what actions would you want to see from this interview? What would you like people to do, or what would you like to gain from the knowledge that you shared with us today?
Good question.
Okay, I would say people who are interested in Africa and in Namibia should do some research. Don't just listen to the public news media. They give you what you want to know. So do some specific research on Africa and on the countries that you're interested in. You will get a lot more information. And also, I like what I'm seeing now, the growth of Pan-Africanism and the discourse that's taking place. And there are a number of forums in England and elsewhere that are educating the non-white masses across about the richness, the diversity of Africa, the wealth of Africa, the legacy of Africa,
Indeed.
the achievements of Africans in all areas of the and they are now popularizing it. They are now bring this knowledge out. So there are a lot of platforms, both in England, in the United States, in Jamaica, in Barbados, in Ghana, that they need to listen to get their news from, rather than just depending on the CNN and the NBCs and the ECs. They are giving you what they call processed knowledge, packed knowledge,
Right.
necessarily open to you to make your own decision. They're pumping you with information that they want to sell or to market.
Yeah.
Yes, you're so right.
So
and it's
stations,
yeah, go ahead, Professor. Yes.
yes, stations like this one can popularize the information that's available and availed to African diaspora in particular. And the books, we are now getting a lot of Africans have been said that they don't write books or they don't read books. It's not true.
Nonsense.
The books,
Nonsense, yes.
they're now open and then writing now, and they are now getting publications, because to put out a book, you need to publish it. Now, if the publishers don't give you access, and it happens more than once, then you tend not to continue that line. So Africans are now writing books. They're now writing materials. And so we need opportunities and publishers who are willing to work with Africans to develop this vast literature base and knowledge that is hidden for years because of the systems that prevailed.
Beautifully said, Professor. You are truly an inspiration, and you're right. There's much, much, much more to you than we've yet been brought out in this interview. But this is, for the audience, just a taster of the many men and women of African heritage, born in the Caribbean or indeed the Americas, who are devoting their lives to the upliftment of the continent of Africa. The professor professes, of course, to be and is a Pan-Africanist. In closing, Professor, what are the key messages for the children who might be listening, who might be inspired by what you've said? Because we made it clear they must pay attention to their studies. What else should they pay attention to? Because I'm very conscious that Africa is a truly diverse continent with many ethnicities. What is it about that environment that allows human beings to work together? What qualities do they need to bring to Africa if they are to really grow in Africa? What qualities do you think they need to bring?
Okay. What I would say to any student, and I'm now referring in particular to African students.
Indeed. Yeah.
Don't just study for study's sake. Try to relate it to the environment in which you live or work. Don't believe that paper qualifications is everything and will get you anywhere. Paper qualifications are necessary. It's the starting point. You have to mix that education with skills knowledge based on practice, observance, and you have to relate it to the work experience. And so education now has confused the students because they are pushing paper, and is contributing to the unemployables. Because once you get this paper, this degree, you feel that you are entitled to a certain job a certain pay, and you then stop or deny learning process. And so that mentality needs to change. So I would say that the education system needs to recognize that paper is not sufficient. That paper qualification is not sufficient, and it will not get you far. You have put it to knowledge, and in that translation of knowledge, it is the application that will move you, and performance that will take you to the higher grounds, whether it's your job or in your own educational development. The second thing I would say, Africa is more than a country. It's a continent.
Yes.
And different countries have different expectations. Some are at different levels of development.
100%.
So don't come to expect what you are accustomed to UK or Germany or US. You have to come humbly and absorb the culture and move with it. Don't just come to change expectations. You will be shocked because it has its own way of building. Africa grows on you. But if you come expecting Africa to be what you expect or what you're accustomed to, you're going to be disappointed. You have to grow with Africa, and it absorbs into your pores, and before you know it, you are going to be the happiest person having come and the culture you're involved in.
Thank you, Professor. You are a true inspiration, and it's true because, you know, people they see certain parts of Africa, and then when you actually go there to certain countries in Africa, they think it is, you know, what they see on TV, and it's definitely not what you see on TV. Like, I've been to Ghana, and people build their own houses better than the houses in the UK and better than some of the houses in America. So I think people need to go there with an open mind and thinking some parts of Africa are developed, some parts are not. Some areas in Ghana or wherever you may be going to are very developed and they're not. And, you know, it is. Some parts are third worlds and some parts are not. And, you know, every infrastructure is very different. So you've definitely opened my eyes and definitely made me think about telling other people about what Namibia has to offer. So we just thank you for coming on our show and, you know, just informing us and building our knowledge.
And if I may add to that, Professor, again, what you've illuminated is that there are many opportunities across the continent and most certainly in Namibia. I think we will need to do this again, but I really want to get into the communities that make up Namibia. Okay,
Yes.
I've noted I've read a number of the local newspapers, and I have a number of Namibians here in Southwark as well, who I know are listening and they've received some texts from. So they are keen, maybe next time with them present, also to complement what you described. But I'll just say this to you in closing, though. It is really fascinating to hear your life story. Okay, you work 18 hours a day, and you're engaged in such important work, and you write poems. Okay, so I'd love to devote an entire program just to your poems. You know,
Okay.
because it's an interesting way to communicate profound messages to the people. Okay? Messages that otherwise would seem complicated and hard to take on board, hard to understand. But I listened to your message earlier on. And look, I'm in the business of encouraging and inspiring people myself. But I have to say, I can learn a great deal from you, Professor. I don't mind saying that. And therefore, And with the permission of the Emperor here, we want to get you back in a few weeks' time. And we just want to talk about both your poems and the peoples that make up Namibia, so you can better understand who they are, who are their culture, their history, what are their drivers, what are their aspirations for the country. Yeah, we want to understand, and through that understanding, we demystify that negative propaganda that so many people here in Britain and Europe are exposed to continuously, as you've indicated earlier. So thank you for being a really interesting guest, and we're going to make sure that our connections are perfect next time round. But what would be your final message to the audience before you go today? What would be your final message?
Well, Africa is now the focus of the world. That's where the world's resources are still residing. Every continent is trying to get a piece of Africa. Africans in the diaspora need to be first, and get back to the motherland, either physically or virtually, and be interested in making that vision for Marcus Garvey to make Africa the dignified, the number one, and the first.
Thank you so much, Professor. Eloquently announced for us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We look forward to doing this again with yourself. Okay, we look forward to this, and thank you. But I've got to still say it. 18 hours a day or more is a long time. I'm always looking out for our health. Okay, I want to make sure we keep you in good health, Professor.
Yes.
Are you going to slow down at any point?
Thank you. When I retire. When I retire.
Thank you, Professor. And we wish you well. And thank you for all the good work. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I listen sometimes to your show, and I listen to you on JSC, and I think you're making yourself a very good contribution to the African knowledge base.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We all contribute a small
Abena.
amount.
Thank you, Professor. You're welcome.
Bye-bye, Professor. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And Abena, at some point in the future, I'd like to talk about Ghana, because
anytime. I always get excited. Anytime.
I was the chief of mission for the UN, for UNP, for the IMF, World Bank, and UNIDO. And
okay, definitely, we'll definitely have a conversation.
It was the first time that the UN organizations agreed to combine resource towards a common objective, and I've watched it since. So it's something that I would like to discuss.
Okay, definitely, Professor.
Duly noted, and we will make those arrangements. Professor Earle Taylor, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your contributions to our show today.
I'm humbled and honored. Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Wow, that's Professor Earle. That was quite something, Empress. That was quite something.
Yes.
Can you imagine? He works I know he actually worked longer than 18 hours a day. He'd been very modest. Okay. We didn't actually go through all of his current appointments, but I'm assure you he has other appointments that he's actively involved in. And last night when I was speaking to him, he was engaged in another international communication, I believe it was in fact with Jamaica. And his contribution to many parts of Africa and the Caribbean is second to none. He is a classic example of the unsung heroes. Long may he continue his work. But there are many others like him out there. There are many others out there, many others. We are moving forward, and together we will all make the difference. So this is the Motivated Show, where we translate our words into action. Remember, success is ours for the taking. How about that, Empress? How about that?
Love it. Always a delight. Always a delight.
Until the next strong, I remain most faithfully the motivator. We will make the difference together. Over and out. Let's
Have a
get
great
this
weekend,
music.
everyone.
There you go. Let's get the music playing, shall I? And of course, the new king will be the coronation is today, I believe. In fact, it may well have started. So the new king of Britain will be crowned today. So let's go do it. And those of you who are listening to us, don't forget, press the like or subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. It simply tells you details of future programs. But give us a like, just so we know that you are engaged. Thank you all. Until the next one, take care.
Bye.